from LPI Studios in Memphis, Tennessee, it's R&R on Sports with Uncle Howard Robertson.
Everybody that is in a leadership position is not necessarily a leader.
Jenny on the block, Jennifer Conroy.
It's a standoff now between Phil Jackson and Carmelo Anthony. And so I think they've put out there that he's being shopped.
And the magnificent, tremendous, undeniable, undisputed, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, Larry Robinson.
Nerlens Noel going to Dallas from the 76ers. He was asking to get out of there. They really got a log jam in the front court.
It's R&R on Sports.
Hello and welcome to R&R on Sports. I'm Uncle Howard.
And I'm Jennifer Conroy.
And I am the awesome, the most amazing, the absolutely fantastic, the suavest, the coolest, the most chilled weekend guy you ever knew. This is Larry Robinson from Louisville, Kentucky, and I want to say to you, happy weekend, baby.
For number one NCAA March Madness, Kansas, Gonzaga, Villanova, and North Kakalaki.
North Kakalaki.
Here's my question right off the top. What you got? How much do you attribute these teams' number one position being to coaching?
And on the college game, I think it makes a huge difference.
I mean, because this is nobody's first rodeo in this group.
These are legacy teams.
Not at all. I mean, Mark Few, what he's been able to do with Gonzaga has been, very impressive, although I have them going out early. I say Arizona's going to come out of their bracket. You got Villanova lasting? If you don't, you're crazy. I think Villanova's going to last. I think Villanova will be there. I got UK in there, and I think I'm trying to think of who's out of that.
So you got UK taking out UCLA?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
In Memphis?
Yes.
In the Sweet 16?
We're going to have the Balls
South
and
region.
Calipari in the forum.
So really? We need to get Cal on the show, man.
So the Ball, have you talked to the
LeVar?
LeVar Ball?
No, I hadn't.
Does he know that they're not gonna be they're not gonna be in the finals? Does he realize
this? He's the big baller brand.
The big baller brand. $1 billion shoes for his boys. That'd be huge.
I love what he's doing, though. I love what LeVar Ball is doing.
I think there comes a point, though, where
I don't think it does. I don't think it does. No, I think it's the fact that they're going to have brothers shooting at them anyway. If they make it to the league, which I'm sure Lonzo will, and he'll be one of the top 2-3 picks, he's going to have to earn his money every single night.
Yeah.
And if he goes to the West, he's going to definitely earn it every single night because it's a point guard league.
And he says that he wants other players to bring it as far as his kid is concerned, because his kid can handle it.
He doesn't have to say that. I mean, I don't think it's going to create any additional animosity against the kid. I think every night you going against a Steph Curry, a Russell Westbrook.
Let me ask you a question. Do y'all think that America accepts fathers like black fathers like him or Venus and Serena with Williams or even Earl Woods as they would like Manning, Archie Manning?
No, have you ever? I mean, Archie Manning spoke very highly of his boys. In fact, Archie Manning was the architect that made sure that Peyton did not go to San Diego. I mean, Eli didn't go to San Diego.
Right.
So I mean, you can't tell me that he's any different from a LeVar Ball or Richard Williams. He put a lot of time in, spent a lot of money, and he's going to make sure that his son gets in the best situation. It's just that we've not seen an African-American father out this far with talking about his son. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. I think as it relates to his children, I think he's really been a tremendous proponent, and I don't think it's just started here. I think we just now found out about it.
Hey. We got lots more to talk about. Get your laugh on. We'll be back on the other side of this.
Welcome to another edition of Fly on the Wall. A little R&R eavesdropped on students in a study group preparing for an exam in one of the University of North Carolina Chapel Hill's bogus African and African American studies classes. And now you become a fly on the wall.
Okay, guys, look, we got to get focused. Professor Debbie's given us an opportunity to stay eligible. You in track, you in football, me in basketball. Let's be focused. Let's get it done. Okay, question 1. Is the continent of Africa A, a city, B, a country, C, a continent?
Well, I don't think Africa's a city, is it?
Africa is a country, because when somebody goes there, they say they're going to another country. I say Africa is a country.
Yeah, man.
Agreed.
Who created peanut butter? A, Peter Pan, B, George Washington Carver, C, Willie L. Skipper, a.k.a. Skippy.
Well, I always thought Peter Pan was black. Negro. Make that African American.
Peter Pan ain't a brother, man.
Don't be fooled, my brothers. Peanut butter was created by brother Willie Earl Skipper, thus the name of the best peanut butter in the world, Skippy.
Who is known to have asked that famous question, how long, not long? A, Malcolm X. B, Flavor Flav. C, Dr. Martin Luther King.
Wow, that is a hard one.
We will not be tricked, hoodwinked, or bamboozled. The apparent answer would be Martin Luther King, but one must look deeper into the symbolism of all this. This is all about time, i.e. how long? And what is it that keeps time? A clock! And what is Flav known for wearing?
A clock. Damn, man, you're brilliant. So the answer's Flavor Flav.
Yeah, man.
Which march did Martin Luther King lead in the nation's capital, which was the largest march of its time? A, the Million Man March, B, the March on Washington, or C, the March of Dimes?
The March of Dimes was big, man.
I say it's the Million Man March. Wasn't that the biggest of all time?
That would be correct, my Caucasian comrade. Okay, bonus question, and there's no wrong answer. What song best typifies Rosa Parks' act of protest on the bus?
It's this one.
Get up, stand up for your right.
Yo, y'all, how about this?
And I am telling you, I'm not going.
Well, that's cool, but mine is...
We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power.
Yeah, brothers, we gonna ace this exam.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we sure are.
The power. Fight the power. Fight the power.
You're listening to R&R on Sports. And don't forget to subscribe and rate our podcast. Go to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any of your podcast providers.
House so empty, need a centerpiece. 20 racks a table come from ebony. Cut that ivory into skinny pieces. Then she clean up with her face. But I love my baby.
And we are back. Now, NCAA. Get back on that for a minute. So, Jen, who you see?
I'm
who you seeing? Who are you? Kansas?
Yeah, Rock Chalk.
Oh, that's right.
What, Mason
you can't
Jr.
get by.
And I love
you can't
that
get
kid.
by your own personal bias.
I love that kid though. Frank Mason.
I like the whole program.
I love that kid at point guard. He's nice. And I really like Josh Jackson, too.
He's my favorite.
So I like Josh. I mean, I can't argue with a Kansas at all. Wouldn't surprise me. But I'm rolling. With them UK boys. I'm rolling with them UK boys.
I like VCU, too.
Malik Monk, his game is just elevated. De'Arian Fox.
They ain't gonna make it.
And I will see. We'll see. Who you got? Who you got? You rolling with Villanova? You look like a Villanova guy.
I am rolling with Villanova.
Okay, so you got Villanova going back to back.
I think they are hard. I think they are focused. I think they're going to get it. I think they're going to take it.
All right, speaking of focus.
But I think UCLA, UK, you and I come apart because I think UCLA is going to take them.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. One thing, we were talking about LeVar Ball and his comments regarding his kids. I'd like to see Lonzo, because I think Lonzo's really going to step his game up during the tournament. I really do. I'm expecting him to really state, kind of claim the position of one of the best players in the country. With all the pressure, with all the comments, with his dad out there promoting, what a better way to kind of reemphasize.
He has to
or
step
deliver
it up.
on his dad's promise.
Has to step up and has to be consistently good.
I think he's already been consistently good.
I
think he's been consistently awesome because we wasn't even talking about UCLA last year. In fact, I don't think UCLA even made the tournament last year. We were talking about his littlest
brother last year.
Right.
You know, so I'm very excited at what we'll see out of Lamar. Lonzo. Dang, Lonzo Ball. Yeah, one of the
all the balls.
You know,
so. Jen.
Yes.
Are the Spurs going to walk the Warriors down and walk over them? Are they going to overtake them for first in the West?
I think so, because I think the Warriors are having a really tough time right now with Durant being out. But I think it's even further than that. I don't really know what's going on.
I agree. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than just Durant going.
And the Spurs are a very well-oiled machine. And
they have that stability piece.
Absolutely.
Spurs. You know who you're going through. There's no debating. Whereas the Warriors, I still think there's an issue between Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Durant. Who is your number one guy?
Well, and apparently Iguodala and the whole line down.
Well, I think that's something that speaks to something else. But I'm talking about the person that's going to take the shot at in the last seconds of a game to win a game. I think you got a question as to, is it Klay? Is it Steph? Is it Kevin Durant?
But I think it's something deep. I think it's something deeper going on. I believe that you and I were talking about how they were this time last year, how on top of the world, happy-go-lucky,
rolling.
They were this time last year, and what a difference! What a difference a year makes. And this is with the addition of
Kevin
KD.
Durant. But I think people have had enough of an adjustment time to their style of ball that now they're figuring out how to really give them some trouble. And with the addition of Durant, Steph Curry's numbers have dropped dramatically. So it's
not really dramatically. His shooting percentage. His scoring is not dropped dramatically.
Well, his shooting is suffering.
His shooting is suffering. I don't think that's indicative or directly affected by Kevin Durant. I think there's something in that locker room that is not sitting well with everybody. I think there's something, like you said, deeper that's affecting this team, and it will come out. After the season and after they get eliminated, because I don't even think they'll make it to the finals this year.
And mature teams, I don't think enough people give enough consideration to mature teams that are winners, that have a winning tradition and whatnot. They have a culture. They have a character.
Spurs definitely
they have a character.
Culture.
And whenever you do something and you mess with something and try to tweak it and it's counter to their character and their culture, you have problems. Look at the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies. Fizdale came in and started tinkering and started doing stuff, which included Chandler Parsons. And the defense went to hell in a handbasket, and they had an awful time. And now he's trying to right the ship.
I think the regular season. See, I think
Tony Allen was insulted and disgusted.
Yeah, well, I look at the regular season as a whole bunch of trial and error. Anyway, unless you are an established team, I think with David Fizdale and the Memphis Grizzlies, they were looking to. I mean, you got a 40-year-old who's led you in scoring a couple games. I mean, I think that they're really trying.
Insanity, baby.
They're really trying to determine what's the best formulation that's going to help them through the playoffs. I think he should be tinkering.
I think he should. I think the front office needs to take their hands off a little bit, and that's where we're having a majority of the issues. Let Fizdale coach. Leave him be.
Well, I ain't heard the front office really causing too much of problems. I think people put a lot more weight on regular season games. The Grizzlies are going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be in that top 8 teams in the West.
Well, definitely be that. For them, it's a matter of where.
And then
it's a matter of $94 million.
Well, to figure out exactly how you're going to play in the playoffs is what the tinkering is about. What players do you need on the bench? What rotation do you need? Because the rotations get much shorter in the playoffs.
And for those of
the
you
Grizzlies are going to have to eeny, meeny, miny, mo a roster spot.
And for those of you who didn't pick it up, what Jennifer was talking about in terms of the $94 million was that porcelain figurine.
The white LeBron.
That porcelain figurine of a basketball player that they have whose name is Chandler Parsons.
Well, Chandler, it came here hurt. And I'm trying to figure out if his best bud in Mark Cuban decided that he was not worth the risk.
Absolutely, he did.
Why did the Grizzlies step up and take the risk of giving him that kind of money?
Because we love hurt guys with potential. And Mark Gasol does not want to be the face of that franchise that has to go out and do all the stuff. And they brought Pretty Chandler Parsons in here to do exactly that. And he ain't doing it.
Pretty Chandler, huh?
Pretty Chandler.
Okay.
He's pretty.
Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook. Who's the MVP this year?
Westbrook.
I got to go with Westbrook. Although I would say a close second is James Harden. In fact, James Harden might be the guy that
over
would
Leonard?
Because at the end of the day,
Leonard's too quiet.
At the end of the
Leonard's
day,
personality
if
is
James
too,
Harden,
he got the
if
prison
James
braids
Harden
too.
was not on that team, you would not even be talking about Houston. Nowhere near. They would be a lottery team.
Yeah.
They'd be a lottery team.
Oklahoma would be in line for the first pick.
Same thing, but that's why I picked Westbrook. Because Westbrook, at the high level he's playing, nobody believed that Westbrook was going to be able to play at this level
not for this
an entire
long.
season. Right? So I think he deserves it. But
He's
my guy,
eating folks.
but the best guy in the league is LeBron James, and this is just
He's
a
consistent.
temporary.
But it's a popularity contest.
I'd like Kawhi to win.
And you got to have high profile. So that's why Kawhi is out of it in my consideration.
Well, okay. So
the next lowest would be James Harden, although he's playing immaculate ball.
What is different between Tim Duncan and Kawhi Leonard? What is different?
Prison grades.
Because what I see is one that's very similar in their leadership style and their style to be somewhat flamboyant.
I think that's Spurs culture, though. I think that's part of the Spurs package.
Well, I think Manu Ginobili is much more flamboyant.
Tim Duncan had a lot more presence. In terms of, I don't mean necessarily personality presence. I mean NBA presence than Kawhi does.
I don't think so. I think that's a personal thing right there.
I do.
I think all James Harden has to do to win is shave his beard. And then, just give him the trophy.
It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen.
No,
we got a fantastic show
though.
for you. You know we got a fantastic conversation with you today. I believe that we have David West.
Woo.
All right.
Okay.
All right. You don't know.
Speaking of the Golden State Warriors,
you don't know.
We have the Golden State Warriors, David West, with us on our conversation, and we'll get to that right after this. Don't go anywhere, please.
You talking money, need a hearing aid. You talking about me, I don't see a shade. Switch on my side, like taking your lane.
Yo, this your boy Chris Brown.
David West of the Golden State Warriors.
Hey, this is Dr. J.
This is Shaq Adocious.
Yo, what's up? This is Ice Cube.
This is Nicki Minaj.
And you're listening to a little
R&R on sports.
Football fans know some things just go together. Quarterbacks and receivers, face paint and super fans, game days and tailgates. State Farm agent Emerson Abel knows another winning combination, home and auto. Emerson and his team are here to help your life go right when you combine your home and auto insurance, which saves you time and money. So get your home and auto on the same team and score some savings with State Farm agent Emerson Abel, 901-837-7400.
You are listening to R&R on Sports. Remember to subscribe and rate our podcast. You can go to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Kazukian, or any of your favorite podcast providers.
I'm in love with your body. I'm in love with your body.
And here we are with iConversation. And as everyone knows, an icon is an image. And today, the image is of one of the NBA's premier powered forwards. We are happy to have with us of the Golden State Warriors, Mr. David West. David, welcome to R&R on Sports.
How are you doing? Thanks for having me, man.
Glad to have you.
Man, I'm not used to hearing David West associated with the Golden State Warriors, man.
Well, get
That's
used
really
to it.
Weird, man.
Get used to it. It's the reality.
It is the most stacked roster in the NBA.
Hey.
I'm a little intimidated.
Hey.
All right, well, we let the old man start first, David, so go ahead, brother. Go ahead and get your question out, man.
I'm about tired of you and this old stuff. They gonna hear some furniture moving up in here. David, we're glad to have you. We normally start with the journey, the path. Talk to us a little bit about the young David West and your journey to the NBA?
All right. Well, my journey was. I don't know if it's any different than anybody else's. Obviously, there's some unique turns and twists, but I was born and raised in New Jersey. My mother and father raised us in a suburb outside of New York City. We were
called. What was the name of the suburb?
Teaneck.
Home of the Isley Brothers.
Yeah. Right. So we, was born and raised there. That's where I got my start. And then in my teens, we moved south, moved to North Carolina, moved to Garner to be closer to my Asian grandparents. And I played ball. I played ball a lot, when I was younger. But as I got older, it became something that I felt like was going to change the direction in the course of my life. So really got down to business in Carolina. Ended up at Xavier in Ohio, having a pretty good career there. And 14 years later in the NBA. So that's it in a nutshell.
Now, I think you're skipping over one very, very important thing. How long did you stay at Xavier?
4 years. I got my degree in 3.
There we go.
That's where I was going. That's where I was going. Talk about that motivation. What made you an outstanding player and whatnot? Clearly, who could have gone to the NBA a lot earlier. What made you stay for?
Well, I think it was just part of it was maturity, just wanting to sort of grow up on my own pace. I think once you come into that NBA life, there's no turning back, there's no slowing down. And in college, it's still you still have the confines of the school and rules and different. And it's a different environment, a better environment for you to learn and grow. And I needed that. Everybody's not called to move at the same pace. So I was moving and taking my steps the way I needed to, just maximize the opportunity that was in front of me. Learned how to use my mind in the process, and it sort of helped me throughout my journey.
Smart man.
Very self-aware man.
Well, that's always what struck me about David is that at the time I was in Cincinnati at the same time you were in Cincinnati. How was it? Okay. How did it feel being called a musketeer, man? I always expected y'all to come out with like Mickey Mouse hats or something.
But
or muskets.
That wasn't. Yeah. It was cool, man. I enjoyed my time at Xavier, man. Like I said, there were a lot of things that we experienced there in Cincinnati during that 4 years. It really helped shape my perspective, helped me grow up in the world. So,
what's your degree in?
I got a degree in political and organizational communication.
All right.
Talk politics.
So,
hey, I like that.
Yeah.
So this is our own sports, and we're speaking with All-Pro, power forward,
Golden State
David
Warrior.
West. Yeah, he's a golden. I can't get the Golden State piece together, man.
Do you find that rookies coming into the league now lack that maturity on a grand scale, especially financial maturity with the market the way it is?
Yeah, I don't know about now. I think when I first came in the NBA, I think everybody we had this inside joke where we talk about the way the parking lot looks. So, like the early 2000s, I came in 03.
You can tell who the rook is and who the veteran is.
You come in the NBA in 2003, and you saw it was like high end, top end cars from top to bottom, right? But I think as sort of as time has gone on, I don't know if you see that as much anymore.
Really?
Maybe guys, that sort of shifted. Guys are a lot more thrifty than you would imagine.
Really?
And I think that there's a different. You're going to be surprised, I think, statistically over these next few years at how some of those stories turn out. Because, like I said, I think there's been a bit of a shift in just guys and understanding what is needed and what's excessive, and it's very interesting to see, and I've seen that in my time in the NBA. Because when I came in, it was flashy.
Yeah, you came in the Wild West. Is that wisdom that you impart, or veterans impart on guys coming in? Because it used to be that 50% of athletes walking out were broke.
Yeah. Now there are guys. Again, I think there's been a concerted effort from guys to get a little bit smarter. Even guys who, obviously this is a free enterprise system, so you're not going to tell guys that they need to put off or hold off if they've got opportunities to make, high dollars. But there's also a risk in when guys aren't pushed toward education. And so one of the things that, guys like myself, and there have been tons of guys before me who have tried to do, is at least change the environment inside the NBA. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Change the everyday environment, change the conversation. And I think that's what's uniquely different now than from when I came in, because I think guys are a lot more willing to talk about certain things. Guys are a lot more interested in being a little bit more diverse than they have been in the past. And I think that's a different story that maybe is not as obviously it's not as attractive for people, and it's a more boring narrative. But you will find there are more programs in place now to help guys better develop their money. And those programs are not in place when I first came in. So yeah.
This is R&R on Sports, and we're speaking with two-time NBA All-Star, Golden State Warrior, David West. David, when I think about all the things in the money and the opulence that goes with the NBA, I never could imagine somebody walking away from $10 million plus. Tell me, brother, how in the heck do you do that? How do you say, no, I need to go over to this team and play for $1 million versus $12 million?
Okay, well, I think it's a process that I've prepared myself for. So I'm somebody that when I first came in the NBA, I said, let's set out a 10-year plan. Mm-hmm. And this 10-year plan was to make sure that after 8 years, that if I never got another contract, we have financial, stability to sort of practically continue on with our lives or whatever. So that's what we started from day one. I remember the first day I signed my rookie deal, I talked to my financial advisor, and we talked about planning and preparing like I would never get another contract with that first rookie deal. And so being able to put the strategy down early, and then being able to sort of adjust, as time has gone on, I always said I wanted to be in a position to make basketball decisions toward the end of my career. And after 4 years in Indiana, I thought we got the most out of what we could. And I had you have to have a personal conversation with yourself. For the bulk of my career, I'm the number 2 guy, number 3 guy on my team, right? Either first or second leading scorer. And then you get to a point and you say, okay, David, you've got to take a different role in order to get yourself in a position to win. And so I'm saying to myself, okay, you can't be the second or third option on the team that's going to compete for a championship. You got to have a certain level of understanding about who you are and the way the game works. And so with all that in mind, and then knowing that we've got a good financial foundation, the money becomes obsolete in terms of your happiness, in terms of your mental attitude, in terms of your approach that you want to have every single day when you wake up. And for me, it was like, okay, you got 4 years. When we signed the deal in Indiana, I never intended to pick up that last year anyway. I think in this type of environment, right, in this society, I think everybody clamors toward what we need right now. Now, if I feel like I've gotten the most out of myself in the NBA in terms of my individual approach, because regardless of what everybody thinks, the NBA is a self-serving business. You can't be a professional athlete and not be a bit selfish. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm, yeah. You have to have that attitude about yourself in order to compete in such a small space. So being able to put all that in perspective, you feel me, and then being able to say, okay, what do you want most out of this thing? It's like, man, go have a good time. Go play a year in San Antonio, an organization that I thought about, from day one in terms of when I was a young kid. That was one of my favorite teams. So have an opportunity to play there, and then obviously having a connection with Golden State. Steph and I have the same same representation. So, it was a no-brainer to come here when once KD signed here. Just having the opportunity, knowing that they wanted me to get on board, and then KD reached out. I was like, man, let's go out here and have a good time.
We got to get back to this. We got much, much more with David West on R&R on Sports right after this.
I'm in love with your body. I'm in love with your body.
Rolling down the street with my radio on, listen to Funky Politics.
The mayor of the city of Memphis, Mayor Jim Strickland. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. We keep it real, we keep it right, and we keep it funky.
Funky Politics, part of the Katsukian Network.
I'll play the blues for you.
Blues in the Basement with Stephanie and T-Shaw.
Some great festivals going on around the tri-state area.
Got your dancing shoes?
Man, as long as I'm with you, baby, I'm always be on my toes.
Drop that zero.
Bring your blues, boo.
I got them.
We'll see you.
Thank you.
Blues in the Basement.
The thrill is gone.
Blues in the Basement, part of the Katsukian Network.
The thrill is gone away.
Hello, I'm Howard Robertson.
J to the C.
And I am the magnificent, the amazing, the phenomenal Larry Robertson.
All right here on R&R on Sports on the Sports Byline Network every Saturday morning. This is the best way to start your weekend.
Catch us, receive us, pass us on to your friends.
Wasn't that cute? Wasn't that cute?
We also got some of the best interviews during our iConversation segment.
Every Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific.
R&R on Sports, part of the Katsukian Network.
And we're back with more iConversation with one of the NBA's premier power forwards and new Golden State Warrior, David West. David, we are back, and I'm gonna do a little thing called "They Say, He Says." Okay, you are the he. So they say, Golden State's loading up. everybody's going over to Golden State. I mean, you know, they just trying to get a ring and
everybody hating on LeBron.
Hating on, you know, they just trying to beat, trying to beat the Cavs and all of that. He says, and that he would be you. What do you say to that kind of reaction?
It's a game. It's the NBA, and you know you gotta put yourself in the best possible position to win when you have an opportunity to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does that in business. So to not do that in business, to not do that in your everyday walk, I would question your intelligence.
So your phone rang one day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who was on the other end of it? Relative to Golden State. I mean, who was the first call that you got from?
Man.
He wants you to say Durant.
Oh, he wanted me to say Durant, but
it was actually who?
It was Steve Kerr, the person who's responsible for
nice.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And kudos to Steve Kerr for saying that what is going on right now in Charlotte and everywhere else is absolutely deplorable.
Right.
So before we get into you talking about North Carolina and all that, I got a couple names that I want you to just kind of give me your thoughts because once again, and I'll say it to America, that this is one of the brightest, sharpest young men that I've ever experienced in the NBA. And he's always had something thoughtful to say. So when I say to you Muhammad Ali, what thoughts come to mind, David?
Well, I would say, first of all, a champion and someone who had great perspective and great courage in a time where death and this sort of brazen attack on black life was even more polarizing at that moment than it is now. And he stood up through that. I think in very insightful. I like to watch some of his old interviews because he gives great insight as into where we were at one point and where we are now, and whether or not we've made a whole lot of progress. It's for all of us to debate, I guess. But he's someone who was a great example. And then I find the one thing that I find most intriguing about Muhammad Ali and his the total experience that he was for everyone is that when he one of the things he said about Malcolm X is that he regretted, one of his regrets was that he turned his back on Malcolm. And for me, that's a very, very powerful thing, because we understood that the power of Malcolm, and for him to humble himself in that way, because we understood how vulnerable Malcolm was left when great people like Muhammad Ali sort of walked away from him. For me, that was a great moment in terms of solidifying who Muhammad Ali was in jest. And
okay,
and there are other people who haven't been as humble.
Yeah. Okay, real quickly, I want to go two more. Barack Obama. Give me something quick on Barack Obama from your perspective.
Great example in terms of symbolism of what can be achieved in this nation. I appreciate how he completed himself with who he chose to marry and the family that he chose to produce. And I think that's a great symbol for us in this time.
Last but certainly not least, the hick from French Lick, Larry Bird.
The good thing about all three of these people is that I got a chance. I've had a chance to meet all three of them.
Great.
So that's a great thing. But Larry, he gave me a chance off a knee injury coming to Indiana, and Larry was great in terms of his approach to his personal career, and he's a driven individual who has an understanding. I think about the approach to basketball and the mentality or mindset you actually have to have. So he's one of those guys that I had the opportunity to learn from, be around, and sort of get a view into his world.
I have actually one more person on the list, but I'm going to lead you into Charlotte. And this person is also one of the greatest of all time. He is currently owner of the Charlotte Hornets, and his name is Michael Jordan. He released a statement the other day regarding the Charlotte situation, but he's also an athlete who hasn't said a whole lot. Do you have an opinion on the statement?
What was his statement?
Basically, the Charlotte Hornets are going to work with elected officials and civic officials and law enforcement to make the situation better, and condolences for the death of Keith Scott and those that had been injured following.
Well, everybody's going to have their approach and do what they feel is their right approach, and sort of demonizing the victim, and short of making this an issue, trying to make this an isolated issue or anything like that. It really doesn't move me one way or another how someone reacts to these situations. I think the families and the victims need to be respected first and foremost, and then secondly, I think the context and the historical evidence around these individual situations, we need not continue to talk about these being isolated incidences. So outside of that, like I said, I don't really worry too much about what folks and their individual approach is, or how they feel about what's going on in the society right now.
This is R&R on Sports, and we're talking with NBA All-Star, two-time NBA All-Star, David West.
David, you mentioned moving from Teaneck, New Jersey to North Carolina to be closer to your grandparents. Talk about, as a young black boy and young black man coming up who had moved from the north to the south. What did you have experiences, different experiences with regard to race down there than you did when you were in New Jersey?
Wow. Well, you know, it's this is a very, for me, and this is where my life, I guess, is very unique. My mom hates when I say it, but I have older parents and an older bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
And what I say by this is that I'm 36 years old. My dad was born in 1938.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
mm-hmm.
My mother was born in 1945.
Okay.
My grandmother was born in my mother's mother was born in 1924.
Okay.
My father's mother was born in 1905.
Wow.
My father's father, my grandfather, Amos Benjamin Sr., was born in 1911.
Okay.
I have vivid memories of my grandparents. Okay.
Okay.
And I was told certain things, and I was educated in a certain way because my grandparents were of a certain age.
That's right.
So when I was in New Jersey as a child, we would travel every single summer south,
mm-hmm.
and we would stay south for most of the summer, and then we would come back usually right before school started. My grandmother, I learned about the healing power of collard greens. And, and
pot liquor, baby.
Right, the healing power of turpentine and all of the different things. So I got a different experience. My grandfather was a fire and brimstone Baptist minister.
Wow.
Who was a gun owner, who was a land owner, but also believed that blacks needed to live amongst themselves.
Okay.
He lived down in Rocky Run. The family was between New Bern and Mount Olive, so I got a bit of it. My mother and who she was. My mother became a very religious person. My father took hold of religion, and I was raised in church in Brooklyn, New York, in a Pentecostal church, and I got a certain education there. And when I was 9 years old, right up the street from our house, an officer by the name of Gary Spaz shot a young brother by the name of Philip Pinnell in the back.
Oh, God.
And I was 9 years old when I first dealt with this.
Wow.
Philip was that situation changed everything for us. In terms of all the kids on my block, we joke about it now. All of us are woke in terms of having an understanding of what is going on, and a lot of it was because Philip happened to us when we were 9 years old.
Right.
And so it was the same incident. Philip was shot in his back. He had a weapon on him. There was a story about him reaching for the weapon, but obviously the forensics showed that the weapon was in his waist, never discharged. He was jumping over a fence and was shot and gunned down. So the experience for me, having my mother being a very light woman, my father being a very dark woman. My mother, at times, folks couldn't tell whether or not my mother was a white woman or a black woman. Mm-hmm. My grandmother, her mother, was the same. Mm-hmm. One of the most vivid memories I have was when my grandmother moved. My grandmother's in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Our family's originally from Orangeburg, South Carolina. I know a lot about my family's history.
Right.
But my family's from Orangeburg, South Carolina, and my grandmother had moved back from New York to Orangeburg, and we hadn't visited her yet. And so she was there for a few months, and then we finally came down. Now, my dad is a country black, okay?
Explain that to folks now. Explain that.
That country black is the sun. When the sun hits you, right?
There you go. You work outside.
It works your skin a certain way, and it looks almost like there's a grease coming on you. That's how my dad is.
Look here, ain't no question about him. It might be a question about your mom, but ain't no question about your dad.
Right. So one morning, my dad used to like to get it when we went south. He'd always start out in the yard. So one morning, he jumps up and he's out in my grandmother's yard, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and my grandmother's getting her work done, and we had gotten to the house. We had arrived. A lot of times we've arrived south in the evening. So we arrived probably 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock that night before. He gets up right away. He's out working in the yard. We're sitting at the table having breakfast, and my grandmother's in the window, and she shared a window. In the South, the ladies, the kitchen windows share each other. So in the morning you can say, hello to this one from your window. So the woman who across her neighbor said to my grandmother, "Hey, Gladys, good morning, good morning." They said, "Good morning." She said, "I'm glad you got some colored help."
This is R&R on Sports with David West of the Golden State Warriors.
I was about 12 or 13 years old when we were sitting at the table, and my mom looked, and I looked, and my grandmother said no, and she got down and went next door and explained that was her son-in-law and that she would be seeing her little, because me and my younger brother's pretty dark-skinned as well. And so that was like, I've had experiences like that. So that has sort of shaped me and my worldview and how I view, the environment that's going on today.
That's wonderful.
All right.
That is wonderful.
Quick question, David, on the situation with the pro ball players protesting. How do you feel about David Stern and Michelle Roberts kind of seemingly colluding to kind of present a respectable – not Stern, I'm sorry, Adam Silver. Kind of colluding to have an agreeable protest that players can actually follow. How does that make you feel as a player?
Yeah, I don't know if that is – I think that's defeating the purpose. I think it's about personal conviction.
Right.
It's not about making you comfortable with what the environment is or what the situation is being protested. So I think it's not the right in terms of the understanding. I'm not sure their understanding is where it needs to be, because it's not about making you comfortable.
There you go.
It's not about making this a comfortable thing.
Back in the day, we never let anybody pick our protest. Your protest is, your protest is your protest.
Yeah. Like your protest, right.
Exactly right.
Have you thought about how you're going to approach it personally as the season opens?
No, I've always had some objections. So this is not anything new. When I was a young player, maybe because we were asked to put our hands over our heart, I think my first or second year, and I kind of declined in that because I've always had a questions that aren't answered, and until I get answers to some of those questions, I feel like you have a right, particularly in this country, to stand for what you believe in, and if you don't feel like standing for the flag. I had the pleasure last week of sharing some moments with General Russell Honore, and I listened to him in an interview, and someone asked him about Colin Kaepernick and everything, and he said, in short term, maybe he could use it. Maybe there should be some other guys who should do it, who maybe are a little bit further along. Maybe Kaepernick should have waited, because now he's going to jeopardize part of his career. Whatever he said, but in the end, he served in the military. He did everything that he did in his 37-year career for him to have an opportunity to do what he wants, what he wants, say what he wants, and talk about and speak about and bring attention to the things that he feels need to be addressed in this society. So, I mean, you can't have it both ways. You know what I mean? You can't be telling people on the one hand to accept all of the things that have been thrown on them, and then on the other hand tell them that they don't have a right to at least react when they're being made uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't be sitting on somebody and then get mad when they start saying, "Hey man, get off of me."
I can't breathe.
Yeah.
Have you thought about your post NBA plans? Are you going to teach? Or are you going to? I hope you're talking, because it's important knowledge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I've got a few things that I'm passionate about. I do love. I am going to teach. That's one of the things that I do want to do. I want to get into classroom environments, particularly around athletes and add a historical perspective for athletes. But that's one of the passions that I do have, particularly the hearts and minds of young men who are starved for right information. And then just continuing. Obviously, look, I tell people all the time, look, I've been playing basketball competitively since I was 5 years old. I just turned 30. I just turned 36, so that's the bulk of my life. So I do have quite a bit of basketball knowledge, and I try to use basketball to be a vehicle, to be able to use it to get and communicate with young people. So I'm going to do something in that regard, for the entirety of my days. But just having the right approach. I'm very involved in some outreach in Africa. And trying to get and put my imprint there. Just connect home and just continue to move forward.
David West, the new Golden State Warrior, we want to thank you for letting people who knew what you are, who you are. We appreciate you doing that right here on R&R on Sports. Now, look, we're going to ask you not to get out there to Golden State and get brand new on us. We want to have you back on R&R on Sports at some point in the future. Would you do that?
Absolutely, I got you.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. We'll be back with more R&R on Sports right after this.
Single mom, what you doing out there? Facing the hard life without no fear. Just see and know that you really care, cause any obstacle come, you well prepare.
Hello, everybody. This is Tim Brown, 2015 NFL Hall of Fame inductee, and you are listening to R&R on Sports.
And we have got to leave. Shout-outs.
I'm going to shout out LaMarcus Aldridge, who has been cleared to return to basketball activities after an arrhythmia. I hope that he's careful.
Everything kosher?
Everything's supposed to be kosher. I hope they keep a good eye on him. And to Dwayne Wade, who is about to be a free agent with a fractured elbow and a nice player option.
Speaking of arrhythmia, if they did a survey of active African-American athletes, they would find prevalent. A predominance of arrhythmia.
Do you think that they don't in the NBA? Because I would imagine that at the NBA, because of the physical exertion, they would actually make sure that that's part of their protocol as far as the clearing.
I think it is part of the protocol, and that's why Jeff Green didn't clear it, and that's how they found out the issue.
The heart
that he
is
was
a serious issue, man. I don't think they would.
And then it's according to who's listening too. See, because our hearts, our hearts got some backbeats.
Oh yeah.
That folks don't understand. No. They think it's something wrong, and that's just how we roll. That's just how we roll.
It's all about the heart, baby.
That's right. Isaiah Thomas, come on back, baby.
We see you.
Yeah, you've been balling. You've been balling at a high level, and I know you're going to be out a couple of games.
We didn't mention him in the MVP.
He's creeping. He's getting there.
For him to be able to get the Celtics where they are. With virtually no other superstar.
I'm so impressed with him.
Absolutely.
Who else, Larry?
I got Shaquille O'Neal. As much as I really do not like a lot of the things that Shaquille O'Neal does, I really like the fact that he's taking the time out to furnish the young girl's home that was in the dog attack that ended up killing one kid. Yeah. So it was a dog attacked two kids. End up killing one.
That's right.
And the other one that was maimed, they actually got her home furnished by Shaquille O'Neal.
All right.
They're down in Atlanta. So kudos to Shaq, and good looking out.
All right. Meanwhile, y'all have a great week. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And please join us. Remember to what?
Rate and subscribe. And share.
That's right. Get us.
All I want you to do is have you a good cocktail this weekend. Sit back and watch some basketball, baby.
There you go. And with that, we're out.
R&R on Sports is recorded live at LPI Studios in the heart of Memphis, Tennessee. Web designer Daniel Coates, executive producer Larry Robinson, written by Howard Robertson, and produced by Reggie Fine. R&R on Sports, part of the Kazuki Network.